Hi guys, welcome back to It All Starts With the Story. I hope you're all well. Now I'm experimenting with this purple screen and hopefully it will work as a green screen. Fingers crossed. And what a green screen is it transforms the background into a different place. So right now I could be sitting on the beach or I could be in the forest. So I want us to go and experience where our book is taking place so we can really get in the mindset of our characters. So hopefully that will work. Fingers crossed. If it doesn't, I will find something else that's cool. But this is what we're doing for Special Saturday. And we are going to be reading a story out of this book, 10-minute stories. And we're going to be reading I Wonder by Kate Douglas Wiggin. And this book doesn't have many pictures, but when we do, don't worry, I'll plot one on the screen, or it might be my background. Okay, let's start off. Once upon a time, there was a man who had 3 sons, Peter, Paul, and the least of all, whom they called Youngling. I can't say the man had anything more than these 3 sons, for he hadn't had 1 penny to rub against another. He told the lads over and over and over again they must go out into the world and try to earn their bread, for at home there was nothing to be looked for but starving to death. Now, nearby the man's cottage was the king's palace, and you must know, just against the windows a great oak had sprung up, which was so stout and tall that it took away all the light. The king had said he would give untold treasure to the man who could fell the oak. But no man was enough for that, for as soon as 1 chip of the oak flew off, 2 grew in its stead. A well too the king desired, which was to hold water for the whole year, for all his neighbours had wells, but he hadn't any, and that he thought a shame. So the king said he would give money and goods to anyone who could dig him such a well as would hold water for the whole year round. But no one could do it, for the palace lay high up on a hill, and they could only dig a few inches before they came upon a rock. But as the king had set his heart on having these 2 things done, he had it to given out far and wide in all the churches of his dominion, that he who could fell the big oak in the king's courtyard and get him a well that would hold water the whole year round should have princess and half the kingdom. Well, you may easily know there was a man, and there was many men who came to try his luck, but all their hacking and hewing, all their digging and deviling, were no avail. The oak grew taller and stouter at every stroke, and the rock grew no softer. Soon, one day, the 3 brothers thought they'd set off and try too, and their father hadn't had a word against it, for even if they didn't get the princess and half the kingdom, it might happen that they'd get a place somewhere with a good master, and that was all he wanted. So when the brothers said they thought of going to the palace, their father said yes at once, and Peter, Paul, and Youngling went off from their home. They had not gone far before they came to a fir wood, and up along one side of it rose a steep hillside. And as they went, they heard something hewing and hacking away up on the hill among the trees. I wonder now what it is that's hewing away yonder, said Youngling. You are always so clever with your wondering, said Peter and Paul both at once. What wonder it is, pray that a woodcutter to stand and hack on a hillside. Still, I'd like to see what it is, after all, said Youngling, and as he went up, Oh, if you're such a child, it will do you good to go and take a lesson, cried his brothers after him, but Youngling didn't care. For what they said, he climbed the steep hillside towards where the noise came, and when he reached the place, what do you think he saw? Why, an axe that stood there hacking and hewing all by itself, at the trunk of a fir tree. "Good day," said Youngling. "So you stand here all alone, and hew, do you?" "Yes, here I stood and hewed and hacked a long time, waiting for you, my lad," said the axe. "Well, here I am at last," said Youngling, as he took the axe, pulled it off its haft, and stuck both head and haft into his wallet. So when he climbed down again to his brothers, they began to jeer and laugh at him. "And now what funny things did you see up on the hillside?" They said. "Oh, it was only an axe, we heard," said Youngling. When they had gone a bit further, they heard something digging and shoveling. "I wonder now," said Youngling, "what is digging and shoveling up yonder at the top of the rock?" "Oh, you're always so clever with your wonderings," said Peter and Paul again, as if you'd never heard a woodpecker hacking and pecking at a hollow tree. "Well, well," said Youngling, "I think it would be a piece of fun just to see what it really is." And so off he set to climb the rocks, while the others laughed and made fun of him. But he didn't care a bit for that. Up he clambered, and when he got near the top, what do you think he saw? Why, a spade that stood there digging and delving. "Good day," said Youngling. "So you stand here all alone and dig and delve?" "Yes, that's what I do," said the spade. "And that's what I've done this many a long day waiting for you, my lad." "Well, here I am," said Youngling again, as he took the spade and knocked off its handle and put it into his wallet, and then he climbed down again to his brothers. "Well, what it was so strange and rare," said Peter and Paul, "that you saw up there at the top of the rock?" "Oh," said Youngling, "nothing more than a spade. That was what we heard." So they went on again a good bit till they came to a brook. They were thirsty after a long walk, and so they sat beside the brook to have a drink. "I have a great fancy to see where this brook comes from," said Youngling. So up alongside the brook he went, in spite of all that his brothers shouted at him. Nothing could stop him. On he went, and as if he went up and up, the brook grew smaller and smaller, and at last, a little way farther on, what do you think he saw? Why, a great walnut, and out of that the water trickled. "Good day," said Youngling again. "So you live here and trickle and run down all alone?" "Yes, I do," said the walnut, "and here I have trickled and run this many a long day, waiting for you, my lad." "Well, here I am," said Youngling, as he took a lump of moss and plugged up the hole so that the water wouldn't run out. Then he put the walnut into his wallet and ran down to his brothers. "Well," said Peter and Paul, "have you found where the water comes from? A rare sight it must have been." "Oh, after all, it was only a hole it ran out of," said Youngling, and the others laughed and made a game of him again. But Youngling didn't mind that a bit. So when they had gone a little farther, they came to the king's palace. But as every man in the kingdom had heard that they might win the princess and half of the realm, if he could only fell the big oak and dig the king's well, so many had come to try their luck, and that the oak was now twice as stout and big as first of all. For you remember the 2 trips grew for every one they hewed out with their axes. So the king had now laid it down, and as a punishment, that if anyone tried and couldn't fell the oak, he should put a barren island, both their ears were to be clipped off. But the 2 brothers didn't let themselves be frightened by this threat. They were quite sure that they could fell the oak, and Peter, he was the oldest, would try his hand first. But he went with him, as with all the rest had hewn the oak. For every chip he cut, 2 grew in its place. So the king's men seized him and clipped off both his ears and put him out on the island. Now Paul was to try his luck, but he fared just the same. When he had hewn 2 or 3 stalks, they began to see the oak grow, and so the king's men seized him too and clipped his ears and put him out on the island. And they clipped his ears closer because they said he ought to have taken a lesson from his brother. So now Youngling was to try. If you want to look like a mock sheep, We're quite ready to clip your ears at once, and then you'll save yourself some trouble, said the king, for he was angry with him for his brother's sake. Well, I'd just like to try first, said Youngling, and so he was given permission. Then he took his axe out of his wallet and fitted it to its handle. Hey, oh, hoo, away, he said to the axe, and away it hewed, making the chips fly again, so that it wasn't long before down came the oak. When that was done, Youngling pulled out his spade and fitted it to the handle. Dig away, he said to the spade, and so the spade began to dig and delve, till the earth and rock flew out in splinters, and as soon as the well deep enough, you may believe, and when he got it as big as deep as chose, Youngling took out his walnut and laid it in one corner of the well, and pulled the plug out of moss. Trickle and run, said Youngling, and so the nut trickled and ran till the water gushed out of the hole in a stream, and in a short time the well was full. So as Youngling had felled the oak that shaded the king's palace, and dug a well in the palace yard, he got the princess and half the kingdom, as the king had said. But it was lucky for Peter and Paul that they had lost their ears, else they might have grown tired of hearing how everywhere, each hour of the day. Well, after all, Youngling wasn't so much out of his mind when he took to wandering. Now, that was quite a long story, and there was a lot to pick up on that. I hope that wasn't too confusing for you guys to understand. I liked that story a lot. I think it talks about that just because you're the youngest and just because you might wonder all the time doesn't mean that people should put you down and say, oh, you're not right. No. It just doesn't work like that. And I think that's like a quality and being like, you can do it, okay? Even though you're the youngest, you can do it. I'm not going to laugh at you, but you can do it. And I think that we could take a piece out of that in our own lives, that a lot of this is happening in the world at the moment, and I'm not going to go into full detail because you'd be here all day, but there's a lot about equality and everything where people say, oh no, but that's a man's sport, you can't play that because you're a girl, or no, you can't because you're too young, or you can't achieve that, you're too young, and everything like that. And I think that we, being this generation, can change the world and make the world equal and everybody be loving of who you are, no matter what you look like, what gender you are, how old you are. Everybody can make a difference, and I like that. Now, tomorrow we do have some fun Peppa Pig stories coming up for the next few weeks, and I'm so excited to read this. So tomorrow we are gonna pick a Peppa Pig one. I don't know which one we're gonna do, but I will pick one. And I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Bye!